Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to YouTube's Worst Comedy Show. Today we are going to be doing a special episode known as a roast-off. Today we have the opponent number 1 of Guy 1 versus the opponent of Guy number 2. I'm sure this roast-off is going to get spicy, heated, and even a little bit bad? Sorry, that was meant to be funny. I was trying to think of a joke, but we'll convince you guys that it's funny in our hour-and-a-half response tomorrow. Don't worry. Don't worry. We'll convince you that we're the funny ones. But yeah, let's get into the roast. Hi. It's a nice shirt you got there. Oh, you're not wearing a shirt? Sorry. Did your mother make that for you? I said, did your mother make that for you? I can't do this. I can't do that. Anyways, everybody, that's the ending of the roast session. Thank you very much for coming along, and we will never see you again because we just got banned from Twitch. Hello, my fellow internet gaylords. Welcome back to another video. Today, we are speaking about the same thing we spoke about in this 52-minute long video. It's continued. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And at this point, I'm just starting to basically lose my marbles. Def Noodles, you hate him, you love him, you don't care about him, whatever. I'm not really too bothered what you personally think about him, but you've definitely at this point heard about Def Noodles, and that was not actually a pun. But yeah, Def Noodles is still continuing in YouTube drama, he's still continuing in controversy, and if you actually don't know anything about it, I recommend going and watching my last video. But despite everything that this person has been criticized for, and despite everything that I've said, it seems at this very point of time, the most controversial thing about this man is actually his claim to the fact that he is apparently a comedian. No.
What are you juggling now? You trying to? What is this? This is a circus. You want to win? It's over. There's no way I can win. That's the whole thing. I'm not supposed to win. You're supposed to win.
You look like a white trash fly.
You could have gone anyway with that. You went with white trash fly?
Okay. I wasn't going to speak about this. It's so bad. I'm so sorry. I really don't want to be a knob, but oh, it's not good. Yes, this was a YouTube roast-off hosted by Def Noodles, and this has pretty much become the meme of the week. This is the thing that a lot of people have been speaking about. It's absolutely everywhere. People on Twitter are mocking it. People on TikTok are mocking it. Basically, everyone is. I'm pretty sure even your nan on Facebook has spoken about this. And even Moist Critical recently made a video about it, of where he pretty much just sat down and I guess critiqued it, laughed at it, and just in general said that it was a bit cringe. But that actually did respond in Def Noodles making a response video, which then led to Critical then making a response video to said response video, which then led to Def Noodles making a response video to the response video to the response video, and basically the majority of that response to the response to the response was an hour and a half of Def Noodles trying to desperately convince his fan base that he actually is funny. Now, usually comedians, when they are funny, usually what a comedian doesn't have to do is sit down and articulate why they are actually funny. They don't have to sit down with their two buddies where they've got to tell everyone and explain the science behind. I'm sorry, it is just a little bit embarrassing, because it's like, if I was telling a joke and nobody found it funny, and my first thought wasn't, oh, that wasn't funny, I'm gonna move on, but it was actually, you know what, no, I'm not gonna take that, I'm going to dissect my own joke and explain why it's funny. It just seems a little bit embarrassing, and that's very much what this is. And usually the whole argument is comedy is subjective, but I think in this case, Def Noodles is really trying to just throw that out of the window and just rewrite the rulebook when it comes to comedy. It's like when Bill Burr has a comedy show, there's not actually an after show of where he goes through every joke to explain to his audience why the jokes were funny. I mean, that isn't something you usually get with comedians, but yes, this is the new drama with Def Noodles. There was so much serious and depressing stuff that I spoke about in my original video, but now it seems that the biggest controversy is simply that Def Noodles is actually not funny, and it's like, Wow, what a groundbreaking scientific discovery. Now, I don't claim to be a comedian. I need to put that out there before we go any further. But, you know, at least I can handle when somebody says, Fraser, your screen zooms aren't funny. And I say maybe they are funny to me, but they're not to you, and I could accept that. But it seems that Def Noodles can actually not accept criticism, despite being a channel that criticizes people. And that seemingly is the center point of this, once again, piece of drama involving Def Noodles. Criticism. The guy that critiques people for a living doesn't like it when people critique his comedy, which obviously is extremely ironic and honestly a piece of comedy in itself. Critical's video called I've Never Seen Something This Horrible basically is just him doing nothing harmful whatsoever, and I think the worst part about all of this actually comes from the title of Def Noodles' response to Critical's video, which is titled My Apology to Moist Critical for First Super Roast Battles. And the reason it's terrible is because it says first, which implies that there's going to be a second and possibly even a third, which is just, honestly, a fucking terrifying thought.
Welcome, folks. Today's video is a little bit different than usual. I think it's about time that I address the new allegations against me. It feels like it's only been a few days since I've had to make one of these videos addressing allegations, and yet here we are once again addressing more allegations. I mean, I just can't stop f***ing up. I just can't help myself. I can't keep my dick in my pants when it comes to creating problems and destroying my career.
Okay, so since Def uploaded this video, he has actually come out and clarified that that video was actually also meant to be a funny joke. It was meant to be comedic and satire.
I can't keep my dick in my pants.
But to me personally, this intro, yeah, it obviously is satire. You know, there's the black and white, there's the music playing in the background. But after that, it's pretty much just fully serious in my opinion. As somebody that has watched this guy regularly, I didn't think after like the minute mark of this video that the rest of it was a complete joke. But that's seemingly what he's claimed in his second response, which I will show later in this video. And I don't know if the issue here is that Def Noodles simply doesn't understand how to be correctly sarcastic and use that in a comedic manner, or the fact of he is just backtracking and just kind of like running back what he said in his previous video, because there are some comments on the video saying things such as, what do you mean allegations? There is no allegation. And yeah, that's because he starts off the video being like, once again, we're addressing allegations, which is something which he said in the past. There are never any allegations. Like, there isn't an allegation of you not being funny. That's just, honestly, it's just a fact, like subjective obviously, but like based on what everyone is thinking, that's basically the common opinion right now. That's not an allegation, that's just a common opinion. And the thing is like, I feel bad for the guy because personally I do rate the fact that this guy does have the balls to get up on stage and do a comedy act in front of a big crowd, well, a crowd, and also do it in front of a Twitch live show. I can appreciate that. That genuinely takes a lot of guts, and despite everything, I do have a lot of respect for Def Noodles for being able to do that, but also for being able to do things like live debates. And yes, these things seemingly always go horribly wrong, but ultimately with the premise of a live debate and a live comedy show, I can respect that the guy clearly wants to do those things despite the pressure that those things bring. But honestly, I don't think that this guy can cope with the pressure, because after the minute mark of this video, it does just seem that the rest of the video is just him being extremely passive aggressive towards Critical, his fan base, and everyone else critical of Def Noodles, because he's basically just upset that people are saying that he's not funny.
Well, I am thoroughly disappointed that I dared to put on something together for my fans, and that the ones who attended thoroughly enjoyed the experience, or so they told me. I'm appalled that I could be such a fool to think that I could fulfill my job and be in entertainment when in fact I am nothing of the sort. I am not a comedian. I'm not even a human. I am just a clump of cells currently existing and spewing raw bullshit that I'm reading directly from a prompter for your entertainment. I am sitting here ludicrously buckling to my knees, self-deprecatingly acquiescing to the oh-so-great Moist Critical, because You didn't like my roast.
This doesn't seem like a joke. This doesn't seem like a little bit of sarcastic humor. This seems like somebody being extremely passive-aggressive because somebody didn't find them funny. This seems that this is a person who was clearly angry at the entire internet for mocking him and mocking his comedy. And I understand it's fine to be upset. It's fine to be annoyed that, yeah, something you wanted to go well didn't exactly go well in terms of people receiving it as like an audience. Yes, people watched it, but ultimately it didn't really go to plan, and I can understand being upset at that. But this doesn't seem to be, oh, I'm going to take in criticism. This is just, oh, I'm going to be very passive-aggressive and then complain that the audience don't think that this is also a joke. And the most mental thing is that Def Noodles throughout the last 2 years has always been like, I'm a comedian. I'm a self-proclaimed comedian. And it's like, that's great, buddy, but I'm still yet to see any proof. And not even on the joke, like, ending of things, on the ending of like, oh, when a comedian actually has a set bomb, because this is a thing that happens to a lot of comedians, you know, they'll do a comedy sketch, whatever you want to call it, and it will bomb. When people don't find it funny, there is an awkward sort of silence, and people just in general aren't entertained. This happens with pretty much every comedian in their career at one point. Do they cry about it? Do they get upset about it? Do they lash out at the fans? No, they don't do that. They suck it up, say, you know what, I'll do better next time. I'll have something funnier for them. They don't respond like this.
Anyway, Mr. Moist Critical, I thank you for your profound observations. I thank you for showing me the light. I will once again produce a super roast battle 2 weeks from now so we can wrong every right that was left unturned. So we can break every cringe record in the history of humanity, so we can murder any possibility of a comedian having any credibility ever again, because as we all know, folks, comedy is perfect. It must be perfect. It must be factually correct, like a college dissertation that no one wants to write or read. In fact, comedy must be strict and rigid like a Michelangelo marble statue. There is no room for mistakes in comedy. In fact, mistakes only make comedy worse. It makes a person making the comedy look pathetic. And as we all know, you can't be pathetic when you do comedy. I mean,
this is what I mean by this whole thing being extremely passive-aggressive. By him doing this thing like, oh, yeah, because comedy's meant to be perfect. It's like, God, you sound like a baby, man. You sound like a baby. Relax. A lot of people didn't find you funny. Do you think it's because, oh, there's this, it's weak. He always seems to act like there's this big grand conspiracy against fucking Def Noodles. I don't have the time to create this big theory. I don't have the time to participate in that. I really don't. I'm making 50-minute videos on the bounce, man. I just didn't, I mean, to be honest with you, I thought it wasn't that bad. I didn't think it was the worst thing in the world. And some people may have thought it was awful. But, you know, I just didn't think it was that great. And I don't understand why you're being such a baby in this response. It's genuinely embarrassing. Absolutely nobody is saying that comedy needs to be perfect. People are just saying, hey man, this was cringy. It's the internet, bro. You and me both make videos speaking about other content creators, and the one time somebody says, oh, it was a little bit cringe, you lose your fucking mind. You do an hour-and-a-half response, you do a 10-minute response, you're probably gonna do more responses. Bro, you have made so much money, took so many views on people doing cringy things. I mean, you've literally got videos of you reacting to cringe. What is the difference between that and what Critical and everyone else was doing? It just seems extremely hypocritical. Like, how are you allowed to react to people being cringe? How are you allowed to laugh at people's downfalls and then other people that do it seemingly are the bad guy? It's like, it just doesn't correlate and doesn't make sense. And it's insane to me because not only is he trying to convince people that his comedy show was funny, but he was also trying to convince people, as I said, that his response to Critical was apparently meant to be a joke. And it's like, it just obviously isn't.
it was titled My Apology to Moist Critical for the first Super Roast Battles. And I told Steven watched part of my video this morning, and he was like, even opened it up, he's like, dude, you started it with the black and white and the sad music. And I was like, yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. I mean, that's probably all I really have to say. The fact that you started it off with the black and white, I already knew it was some comedic shit. And it was meant to be funny, satirical.
Yeah.
Some satire shit anyway. So I was like, okay, this shit, then this is wild.
Yeah.
But that was it. You know, it's like, if anybody doesn't see that, you know,
yeah.
whatever.
So essentially that's how I did it. That's the route I chose. I did also choose to have a piano music playing in the background, and that is Rick Astley's Rickroll song. So, you know, I have...
My friends, as I said, I'm not a master of comedy. I don't claim to be Mr. Funny Man on the internet, but I can tell when something is passive-aggressive and when something is funny. And your response, this thing right here, was not comedy, in my opinion.
I'm appalled that I could be such a fool to think that I could fulfill my job and be in entertainment when, in fact, I am nothing of the sort. I am not a comedian. I'm not even a human. I'm just a clump of cells currently existing and spewing raw bullshit that I'm reading directly from a prompter for your entertainment.
And look, if this was actually you trying to be funny, then maybe, you know, maybe don't quit the day job. I really don't know if this is just me being British right now and not being able to see if an American doesn't understand what actual sarcastic humor is, because sarcasm isn't when you're just going like, oh, I'm really angry, but it's kind of ironic. It's like, that's not sarcasm, you know? I'm sorry, I mean, if it is sarcasm in your eyes, it's not funny sarcasm, it's just you being angry and kind of substituting it by being, I guess, a little bit self-aware. Like, the phrase copium is used quite a lot, and I feel like this hour and 24 fucking minute video is just like the prime form of copium. I have never seen a comedian desperately get his buddies together to do a podcast of where for an hour straight they're being like, guys, we are actually funny. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know you think that we're not funny, but we are, and you are wrong, and we are just intellectually superior to you in terms of comedy. And okay, man, that's good to know. That's good to know. But the amount you tell somebody that your unfunny joke was funny isn't going to convince them to laugh. It's just going to make them think, wow, you're a really bad comedian. Because so many comedians, as I said, bomb sometimes in their career and they just accept it. But you need to go on this arc of convincing everybody that no, your humor is wrong and actually I am king of funny. That's not how it works. Because as the comedy gods say, comedy is subjective. If you really did care about being a comedian, I don't think you would respond like this, and instead I think you would just take on board the criticism and actually learn how to improve and become a better comedian. But what I think this response is actually you getting upset at everything, not just to do with the comedian stuff, but I think everything right now is getting to you, which has provoked an emotional response and has provoked you being this overly angry towards people like Critical, who, to be honest, didn't actually say anything really negative or bad. They just said that you're cringe, but you have gotten so mad about everything, your entire downfall, which in my opinion you have created yourself, and you are so upset at that you're now just lashing out at everybody. And this goes back to what I said in my last video. You need to take a break and you need to relax, because you're just getting prompted into doing these ridiculous, embarrassing responses, and it's getting to the point of where nobody is going to take you seriously. And I wouldn't want that. Like, as much as I'm criticizing you, I would like you to have a good career in comedy, you know? You probably are passionate about that, and I don't deny that, but ultimately I don't think you're going to have a career in that industry if you keep responding like this when one time people don't find you funny. Like, man, Joe Rogan for 20 years has been kind of trying to do this comedian thing, and nobody has ever found it funny, but the bloke just continues. Like, I'm not a fan of Joe Rogan, but I can almost respect the fact that that man is still 20 years on, still trying to tell jokes, and they're not landing, in my opinion, but he's still trying, and you don't see that guy lashing out at everybody, calling him unfunny. Like, yeah, he's not very funny, but he doesn't turn into a crybaby about it. The bloke just continues and continues and continues, and yeah, maybe he shouldn't, but he does, because that's what comedians do. They learn and they continue and they move on. You seemingly don't. And I think Critical pretty much gives the best take on this.
The main takeaway here is impulsively making a video while emotional. And it's something I've done before too. Every YouTuber's made a video they regret, obviously. And I think that's what he's going through at the moment, where he's impulsively responding to things that are kind of non-issues, like me laughing at the roast, or people's response to the roast, or whatever the fuck is going on Twitter, and making a video about it, which is only further hurting him. Which it's like a cycle, and there just has to be this point where you say, like, okay, let me just step back from Twitter, which is the best thing you can ever do, and I'll just, handle it privately, as opposed to making everything a public spectacle. There was drama on Twitter, and I'm just going to sit on it myself. I don't need to make a video talking about it, because if I do, people aren't going to want to hear it, and they might not like it.
Now, this is pretty much what I said in my previous video. I think Def Noodles is honestly a very chronically online guy, and I am too, but it's getting to the point of where this guy is allowing it to melt his fucking brain. Like, the guy clearly isn't doing well. There are a lot of content creators where they're getting drama for valid criticisms, valid things that they've done wrong, but then they kind of allow it to utterly consume them. There are other content creators like Gabby Hanna who do this on a regular basis, of where they will just get eaten alive pretty much because they constantly consume the negativity and don't actually allow themselves time to breathe. And I think there is a weird thing, which I think on the internet, people think that just because somebody has done something wrong doesn't mean that they're human. And whilst I am criticizing this guy for the inability to take criticism, ironically, whilst criticizing other people for a living, I do think that this guy has the right to take a break and a breather. But it just doesn't seem that he wants to do that, and it is causing him to have these emotional, outlandish backlashes towards his own audience, towards people criticizing him, and just in general towards everyone. And I honestly think it's for the best of his mental health for him to just log off Twitter, log off Twitch, or whatever, and just take a break and go chill with his family and friends, rather than getting upset at the fact that people just didn't find a joke he told to be funny. Like, mate, just log off, because I promise you things will get better if you do that. I'm not saying quit your job, quit YouTube. I'm just saying relax, detach yourself a little bit, delete Twitter from the phone, and I'm sure you will feel better, because you are clearly doing this 24/7. I do not know a content creator which, fair play, works as much as you do consistently. You are constantly grinding, and yes, you have a team, but ultimately I don't doubt that you're probably stressed out your fucking mind. So please, man, take a break, because it's clearly showing that you need one. But I've said that, and other people have said that, and did he do that? No. As I said, he made an hour and 24-minute long response to a response from Critical, who gave him some pretty fair advice and pretty fair criticism, and it's basically just an hour, as I said, of him being passive-aggressive and getting mad at Critical for jumping to conclusions.
It was an ironic apology to him, honestly. And if he thinks that that's a real apology, like, yo, bro, like, seriously? I mean, I don't know what else he says in the video, because this is pretty much where I stopped watching, but,
Like I said when talking about the event, I don't really know Def Noodles. I don't hate him. I've only seen a couple of things on Twitter where he said or did some bad shit that people were dunking on him for, and I've seen this roast. That's my whole exposure to Def Noodles. So I don't have strong opinions on him. I was making jokes about the event as well as his set, but I don't know the guy very well. So I'm...
That's kind of funny, right? He doesn't know, but he's like making a video, kind of jumping to conclusions, I guess. I assume based on my intentions and the little that he knows about those intentions, or what he assumes those intentions are.
I mean, I don't really know what you mean by jumping to conclusions. Like, he didn't do anything. Like, it's not like he did this, like, fucking 3-hour-long analytical, like, deep dive into your channel. He just said, hey, man, this isn't that funny. Just like somebody would say, hey, man, Amy Schumer isn't that funny. It's like a thing. Like, comedians aren't always funny, and it's fine to just be like, hey, I didn't vibe with this, and that's my take. It's not like he was giving this groundbreaking opinion on Def Noodles. He literally just cringed for a little bit, and that was literally it. There is no jumping to conclusions here. There is nothing deep here. And this is a regular thing with Def Noodles, where he thinks that there is this deep, overarching theory to things, when in reality it's just, hey, I don't think people liked this. And maybe he's saying that he was jumping to conclusions about the comedic apology, but it's like, if you don't want people to jump to conclusions about your comedic satire piece, well, maybe actually make it funny.
They immediately try to say, oh yeah, you're not funny, blah, blah, blah. And, oh yeah, you're doing that. But there's really nothing behind it. They're just trying to discredit us as comedians or whatever, however they see us. right, so that they can, I guess, just feel better about themselves, honestly.
Personally, I don't really understand why there needs to be anything behind something when it comes to not being funny. There isn't like this great scientific formula to making somebody laugh. If you say something funny, you say something funny. If you say something unfunny, you say something unfunny. Like, there isn't this big formula, this big conspiracy theory here. It's just, oh, I didn't find that joke funny. There doesn't need to be anything fucking behind that. There doesn't need to be a science behind that or reasoning. It's just, hey man, people found you unfunny, and it's clear that you are so unwilling to accept that. This is like when the drunk uncle on Christmas Day realizes that nobody actually fucking finds him funny, but throughout his entire life, people have been kind of afraid to say it, but now people are saying it, they're getting angry and lashing out, and I think this is what that is. Nobody pretty much has told you that you're unfunny until recently, because to be honest, I don't think anybody actually thought you were trying to be a comedian up until now, and yeah, there isn't science or a theory behind it. It's just, hey man, people don't really find you that funny. You've made this long video, I guess, trying to expose Critical for not finding you funny, which is just absolutely ridiculous and just reinforces how unhinged you are becoming, because this just isn't warranted. An hour-and-a-half response, like, sure, if you wanted to briefly speak about it, maybe, but it's like, it's not even constructive. It's just you getting angry at everyone for, again, not finding you funny. I said this in my previous video, but this is another case of somebody like not being able to accept that they are in the wrong. There is always a case of where somebody is just giving one opinion, but then you have literally every single other human being on planet Earth giving the opposite opinion, but for some reason they think that they're the ones in the right and everyone else is wrong. It's like 9 times out of 10 in most scenarios, when 99 people say you're a dick and one person who is yourself saying you're not a dick, you're probably you're probably a dick. And in this case, it's not being a dick, it's just not being funny. And honestly, I don't think it's that deep. Like, realistically, a funny person is quite hard to come by. Like, people can say funny things here and there, but actually being funny is a skill. It's like a rare thing for somebody to be naturally unbelievably funny. And that's why, honestly, there aren't that many comedians who, you know, hit the ground running, who are absolutely everywhere, because being consistently funny is difficult. And it's not an issue if you're not funny all the time. And it's not an issue if your first live comedy show on Twitch bombed. I'm not going to go through the entire hour-and-a-half video, because it is pretty much, again, an hour-and-a-half of them trying to explain why the apology video was actually just a joke, and that, you know, I guess people just didn't understand the comedy of their comedy roast show, which to me personally is just this constant cycle of Def Noodles just not being able to accept criticism. Taking it away from the comedy show aspect of things, I think this is just a really good summary of where we are at with Def Noodles. This is a guy who just can't sit back, hear what people have to say, and just, you know, take it in and accept it, rather than just having to say, no, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about that, you're wrong about everything, when in reality is I could understand that if it was like a 50-50 thing, but this isn't 50-50. This is the entire internet and his fan base and everyone turning against him, but he still can't accept that, yeah, maybe he is in the wrong in this situation. And this situation that we're talking about is honestly stupid. It's a comedy show. It shouldn't be this big, reactive, silly thing, but again, it's because of how a content creator has responded to memes and stuff. If the guy just laughed along, he'd probably be absolutely fine. And if you really do want to be a comedian, mate, you are really not doing a good job of showing it. Because to me personally, what this is an extremely immature, embarrassing response, and honestly, it is quite childish. Now, maybe some of the things said about Def Noodles have been a bit outrageous and have been a bit far, but this response does just make me think, Jesus Christ, man, you're really not helping yourself in this situation. I truly believe that in these last 2 videos I've been extremely charitable and nice, but in this situation you just can't help but cringe and get embarrassed, because this is just a dude who can't accept the most basic of things of, hey man, you told a bad bad joke. And it wasn't even necessarily anything offensive. It wasn't you, breaking the law. It wasn't you doing something ridiculously terrible. It was just you did something that everyone does, but you reacted to that and the response to that in a bad way. And that is how all of these dramas always go further than they actually need to be, of where the original person who started the drama responds badly to the responses of other people. If you didn't respond badly, and if you were just like, haha, I hold my hands up, we'll do better next time, or we'll do another show, I honest to God think that people would have just been like, oh, that's a mature response. That's respectable. He can take a joke. Because the big thing we can take from this is that we have a comedian who was unwilling to accept other people making jokes, and also a comedian that is known for making videos critiquing and laughing and cringing at other people. This guy can't handle it when it happens to him, and honestly, that says it all to me. But that is the ending of this video. I'm going to conclude it by saying, Def Man, please just log off Twitter for a few weeks. It'll probably do you the world of good. And yeah, if you want to speak to me, DMs are open, as I said in my last video. But thank you very much for watching this video. My Twitter is inabber69. My Instagram is inabber. Please do me a big favor and like this video. Sometimes the likes slack, they're sometimes good, they're sometimes bad. Please like this video. I would really appreciate it. And subscribe if you are new. I would very, very much appreciate both of those things. And yeah, that is the ending of this video. Second channel is inabber live. And I will see you in the next one. Peace out and have a lovely weekend.